Yo, what's good for the broken fam? It's your host Priscilla Zapata, and thank you so much for listening. So for today's first episode, we're going to be talking about my story. So I wanted to start with, when I was little and then kind of move somewhat in the present day. A little trigger warning. I will be mentioning some hard topics such as eating disorder, body dysmorphia, postpartum depression, suicidal thoughts. So if there's any parts during this episode that it's triggering for you and you're not ready to fully listen, please forward through those topics or, those parts. I will try to leave on the short notes the timestamps of each topic so you kind of know where to fast forward if you're not comfortable about that stuff or you want to forward it through it. And I totally respect that and I totally understand. And you are valid to feel that you're still healing and you are not ready to listen to it or talk about it. So don't feel like ashamed or anything like that, because everyone's journey is different. And if you are going through it, it's okay. And I'm sending you all my positive love and positive thoughts your way. As a little kid, I didn't have the most extravagant things, but I knew that I was very happy. As soon as I started school, both my parents has always put in our mind that we need to have a good education, that we need to keep working hard into what we want to do. And also I feel like they fed a lot of that because both my parents didn't finish school. They don't have even a GED. So I think it was very important for them to push us because they didn't want us to be like them. They want us to be better, especially in our family, in the Latino family. I think our parents always want us to push us to be the better version of them. They sacrifice so much to give us those opportunities that we had today. So I'm very thankful and I'm very blessed for all their hard work and all their sacrifices that they had to do. With that being said, I think ever since I was young, I understood that they were doing a lot for us, and I just always wanted to make my parents proud. And so I always strive to do really good academically, and to be overall a pretty good kid. I think they're led to overachievement and perfectionism. I think that's where it started and that's where it's born, because I struggle with that. I'm my hardest critic on myself. I feel like, I can never do good, or it's not good enough. I can always do better. If I'm passionate about something, I want to put the best out there. And I'm really nitpicky on myself and how I perform and all that stuff. So it's really hard sometimes to give myself a little grace on that and to understand that we're human, that we're not perfect, and that I'm not going to know all the answers, and that's okay. I struggled that a lot when I would not get good grades, or if I would struggle in a subject, I would get upset. I would, punish myself in a sense that I need to do better, that I can do better, that this was not good enough. And I would feed myself these negative thoughts all the time ever since I was a little kid. It's just something that I just developed on my own, and I just wanted to strive to be the best. And I just feel like as when I was getting older, a lot of, perfectionism led to other things that I ended up struggling with, and I will get to that when I move on with my story. Also, being younger, I also got chunky. So I was chunky as a little kid, and I didn't really think anything of it. My family would call me like little nicknames that would reflect on my weight. And, just being a little kid, you really don't think anything of it until it starts to be something that you notice or that you want to change. So as I got older and I went to middle school, you understand middle school is the most awkward years of your life. And if you don't think it was, all props to you, because I honestly think that middle school was pretty awkward for me. You know, you're just going through hormones, and then being a girl, you get your first period, and then like you just have to understand like what's going on with my body, like what the heck. And then, at least for me, I started liking boys. And I remember, you know, 6th grade, I was still had the bushy eyebrows. All I cared about was, you know, that I wanted to do good in school and just make friends. Also, I would totally geek out because I had an agenda book. I am that person. I love planners. Planners are life. And if anybody else can relate, please leave a comment, like this part. But I just love planning. I'm a to-do list person. Still till this day, I love to make to-do lists. I'm more productive that way. But I was a clumsy kid too, and I remember that I was always running late. I honestly don't know how. I was running late. Maybe I was talking to my friends. Who knows? And till this day, I'm always running late. No matter how hard I try, I'm always late. And I remember just being that dorky kid. I had my backpack was filled with books, and then I would have books in my hands too, and I would just be sprinting, and then I would always fall, and like all my stuff would go all over the place. So I'm pretty sure that whoever saw me must have had a good time, because I was such a geeky kid and dropping things all the time. And I would say I am still pretty clumsy, and I do the most dumbest things ever, but you know what? It is what it is. But yeah, so I think until like around 7th grade, towards the end of 7th grade, I started to notice that, you know, okay, I think I want the attention of boys. I would see, you know, other girls and my friends, you know, kind of look more having their, you know, grown up, like a little woman body. And I'm like, yo, I'm a late bloomer. Like, what is going on? I noticed that also I was chunky still, and, or the plus size. And then I was just like, man, like, I don't want to be like plus size anymore. Like, I want boys to like me. Like, why don't they like me? Like, I remember that no one would really like turn their head towards me, and I would just be like, you know, I don't think I'm that bad. And so it was just so sad, because then I remember I always grew up knowing about God, and I grew up in the Christian church. And I remember when I was little, I would just go to my room before I would go to bed. I would pray, and I would start crying. I'd be like, God, like, why can't I be pretty, or why can't I be skinny so that boys can like me? And I'm just like, as I think about it now, I'm like, dang, like, I wish I could hug that little girl and let her know that everything will, you know, turn out. You will grow up, you know, in your own timing, and that everything is going to be okay. And that beauty is more than just your appearance. It's your personality and the way that you carry yourself. So I really wish I had like a big sister moment there, or I really wish I had like a big sister during that time. But, you know, me being the oldest, and I just have 2 little brothers, it's really hard for, you know, little brothers to navigate through all that stuff. So I felt mostly alone throughout my middle school and high school years. At that point in time, you are more relying on your friends than your family. I didn't really know how to navigate through all the different changes and everything that was going on. So it was kind of lonely. It was kind of hard. With that, I wanted to start losing weight. So I would cut out soda. I would cut out candy. I felt like, you know, this would help me lose the weight so I can be pretty. And, you know, I remember also too looking at magazines, and you would see, you know, thin girls was the big thing. You know, Abercrombie and Fitch, like I could never wear those because I was always too big for them. Or American Eagle or Hollister, you had to be either a 00 and an extra small in order to fit into their clothes. Being in that era of, you know, the trend of being slim, I started to develop a eating disorder, and it was like a slow process. I also played sports, So I feel like, that also helped me lose a bit of the weight. And so with that being said, it's just I would slowly not eat. So I wouldn't really eat breakfast. And then I would sometimes eat lunch, and then I would eat very little when I would eat dinner. And I feel like I remember when I was younger, I would eat a lot when I came from school, so I would eat dinner and like big portions sometimes because I was so hungry. And I remember, sometimes like if I would go to family parties and they would see us eat a lot, they would make comments saying like, oh, like you're gonna get fat, why you eat so much, like that is gonna go straight to your thighs and all that thing. So they could be laughing and joking around, and at that time we may not have thought of it that serious because we were just little kids. But when I got to that point when I was trying to lose weight because I wanted to reach the beauty standards of what was at that time, I remember those things. And then I remember like, oh, well, if I don't want to get fat, then I shouldn't be eating. What sucks though is like as a Latina, naming us like gordita, which is like fatty, but like in a cutesy way, or chunky in a cutesy way. They say these things like if it's funny, but they don't understand that those words do hurt, especially if you're going through changes in your body, trying to figure out who you are, and then you're also influenced by the media and all that things. Like I don't think they understand that words do hurt sometimes. And I think most of the times, but other people are able to brush it off, and there's some people that are more affected by it. And I was one of those people. And so I developed that eating disorder, and I think it got a lot worse when I was in high school. High school was a very tough year for me because I feel like I said, I felt like I was a late bloomer, so I was still trying to figure out myself. I always wanted to be a nice person. I always felt like I was always a nice person. I would talk to anybody that would talk to me, and if as soon as I feel comfortable around you, I would be more outgoing. I would crack a joke. I would just, genuinely be hyping you up, even if I didn't really know you. I was just that type of person. But there was a few moments throughout my high school that I would get bullied, in a sense that they would say that, I think that I'm all that all I want is guys' attention, that I just want to be a pretty face, and that, like I said, they would think that I was just being just too cocky or too whatever the case may be. And honestly, I never felt cool. I never would consider myself as the cool girl. I would have my friends, but I would never consider myself as a cool girl or anything like that. I would always feel like, my friends are the cool ones and I'm just the, right there with them. And so I just never would fit in. And it was, even though I had my friends around me, I would still feel really lonely. And especially when I would get comments like that, then I would feel like, well, I guess I can't really be myself because I don't want to be in the spotlight like that. And I always grew up, that image was important, that people should always think highly of you in a good way, that you are a good person. And if anybody rubs you the wrong way, then you must change up your character. And so I think it got to a point of time where I got really tired of that, and I just became heartless. I could care less about anybody. I could care less about myself. And then there formed my first suicidal thoughts. It was really hard. Like I said, it was a very hard, lonely time in my life, and I would just isolate myself. And I'm a type of person that if I am overstimulated, or I would just feel like I have so much in my head, then I am easy to just self-isolate and just not become a problem for anybody. And I know that that is not a good thing, because that can lead into very depressing thoughts and be sad. I remember that there were certain times where I really wanted to end my life, that I just wasn't happy. And luckily, from the grace of God, I was able to overcome that and still be here today. Being bullied is not easy. It is true that sometimes you see the most happiest people, or the people that has even though you see people happy, you really don't know what's going on in their head, or in their mind, or in their heart. So that's why, like, spreading kindness is such an important thing for me, because you just don't know what people are going through. You don't know if they're sad, even if they have a happy face all the time. You just don't know. And that's why it's just important that we need to be more kind and more compassionate towards each other, because you never know. You never know. You could be a light to somebody else that was about to end their life. You could be you could be making a difference in somebody else's life because you took the time to genuinely get to know them. And that is why I want to create this movement with you guys, because I want you, whoever went through that, whoever is getting bullied at the moment, or who feels like they're not being heard or self-isolates themselves, I am here. I understand that feeling. And even if my situation was different, I'm still here to listen and to understand that I'm sitting right next to you and that you're not alone through all this. High school was a very learning experience, and I feel like it was just more of a lonely experience. With college, I think that's why I decided that I wanted to leave my hometown and just go to college somewhere else. So I went to New Mexico, it was a very good experience. I loved it. I got to go with my best friend, and it was just a good time to just experience, different people and just seeing life in a different way. With expenses and plus like missing my family, I ended up coming back to my hometown and I finished college here. But then came another hard thing. My youngest brother, he was only 11 years old, and he died. He died in an accident, a freak accident. And it was unexpected, and it was very hard. Very hard, because that day I lost my best friend. My life shattered at that point. Till this day, I remember that the last thing I told him was, I was eating crackers while I was watching something on my laptop, and then I told him, like, hey, can you put these for me in the kitchen? And then I remember saying thank you, and that was it. And so it just, losing somebody that you love is the hardest thing, and your life just shifts drastically. You understand that life is so precious and that anything can happen in just a split of a moment. Even with the people that have dealt with losing their loved one and knowing that they are dying, I know that is not easy either. I don't think that losing somebody is easy, regardless if it's unexpected or if it's something that you know is going to happen. I understand that grieving, we're all going to grieve, but also grieving comes in different waves, different forms, different ways, different fonts, as you say. It all comes differently. There's no perfect way to grieve. And even if you lost your loved one like 20 years ago and you're still grieving, like if you found out the news today, that is okay. I personally go through waves of grieving. Sometimes I can talk about my little brother and I can be laughing and just smiling and just be very open, and other times I can barely say his name and I'll just start crying, and I will just miss him so much, especially on the relationship that I had with my little brother, with my baby brother. It was more like a motherly relationship. He had I think I would say that he had the same personality as I did, in the sense of compassionate and empathy. He was very, even at a very young age, he was so compassionate. He would be there for people, and he was so friendly and so outgoing. And so I just feel like me and him could relate that way. My relationship with my younger brother is just more like a ride or die type of thing. He is like more just like my best friend that I'm gonna get in trouble with, and it's gonna be, we're gonna be reckless together, and we're gonna always have each other's back. It's more that way. I remember like being a little kid, or younger, if I would have to lie for him, I would be like, yo, you need to tell me the story, like front to back, middle, side, every little detail, because I do not know how to lie. I can't lie, especially to my parents. I cannot lie, because if you would see me, you could just literally see my face that I'm lying. So I would tell them like, yo, you just tell me something simple, a simple story. I will repeat it. But if they start asking more questions, you better be there to have my back. And he'd be like, no, it's okay. I got you. Don't worry. Like, we got this. I'm like, okay, but for real. And if anybody can relate to that, please let me know. Because honestly, I'm just not a good liar. And I'm not a good storyteller. You have to tell me the script. And so that is my relationships with my brother. So losing my little brother was very hard for me, especially on the times where I felt lonely and just misunderstood. I would long for him and I would cry for him. And sometimes there are days where it hurts. And it hurts like if I just found out that he died. And it just sucks. Due to my faith, I understand that he's at peace and that he's in heaven thriving, and it's just, me, my flesh here on earth, it really misses him and just wishes that he could be here. I really wish that my girls could have met their Theo, and it's just like something that I just think about. But that's how life is sometimes. We don't understand why we lose people, and it's just sometimes life can be unfair. Life is crazy. All our stories are written in a certain way, and that is why, I feel like it's so important to just live your life. As long as you're not doing anything wrong or anything bad, live your life to the fullest. Be happy. Do things that you love. And I understand that you have so much worries about finances that, may be contradicting with your family or anything like that, or they may not believe in your dreams or anything. Like, life can be short sometimes, I feel like it. But life can be long. I feel like life can be short if we keep living in regret or live in fear. That's the thing. I feel like life is short when we are in this rat race, wanting to be like, oh, like I will do my dream as if I make this amount of money, or I will, reach my dream if I cap to this position, or, oh, I'll reach my dream if I'm at this certain age. No, like if you have that dream and if it's possible, like do it. I feel like life can be long if you are fulfilling your purpose, if you're fulfilling your dreams and all those things. I think that as long as you change your perspective and wanting to thrive and live life, like you can have a beautiful life, a beautiful long life, even if you only lived for 30 years or so. You can have a really beautiful life. And I honestly believe that my little brother, he was only 11 years old when he passed away, but he had a very beautiful life. He had a loving family that loved him with all his heart, and he had such a beautiful heart and spirit that he would just genuinely care about people. And even if he did not know you, he would have a genuine conversation with you at 11 years old. He is my role model. He is my person that I feel like I want to continue on. Even if people don't agree to how I talk or speak or anything like that, I need to continue on to thrive and go with what I believe is my purpose and my calling. with some dark times also came beautiful times, which my first girl was born. And also, forgot to mention, my husband is gonna hit me. I got married first, and then I had my beautiful girl. But I married my best friend, my high school sweetheart, and we got married, and then shortly after, then I had my beautiful little girl. Motherhood is such a beautiful, crazy, confusing, tiring, lonely experience. So many things happen when you're pregnant. You get to experience life, like you are building life inside you. And talking about that, like at first I'm like, wow, like I have a baby, like I have life, like I'm building life, like I'm nurturing somebody within inside me. And then I think about it, like if you truly do think about it, and then I truly did think about it, I was like, yo, I have something inside me. There's a living organism inside me. There's a baby inside me. Like, isn't that crazy? Like, that is so crazy to know that we can just build this life inside, inside our bodies as women. And it's just like if any other women out there that has experienced motherhood, or even if you experience loss, I want you to know that you are still mother. Regardless of whatever the outcome is, if you lost your little one earlier in your trimester, or even if you're struggling, I understand that there is no words that I can say to make you feel better. And I respect that, because that is hard. Other moms that have experienced, carrying their baby, what a blessing. We are very blessed and lucky to be able to have that experience, because there are some mothers that wish that they could. I don't like when other people ask, like, when are you going to have a baby? Or you should have another baby and all that stuff. Sometimes you don't know if that person is struggling. You don't know if that person, or maybe if they don't want to have kids. Like, that's just my thing, is like, it's very, I feel like, at least in my culture, my mom was so pushy and wanting to know, like, oh, when are you gonna have a baby? When are you gonna try to have a baby and all that stuff? In my experience, I didn't have any struggles or anything like that, but I known some people that have struggled with trying to conceive, and that hurts. I give all my heart to those people to those women that want to have children and that have gone through so many miscarriages. I hope that any of other women out there that want to share their story about that, please reach out to me. I would love to have a beautiful conversation about that, and also to shed light, because I cannot talk about it because I haven't experienced it, but I would love to give somebody else the opportunity and my platform to talk about it. And I rephrase that, is not my platform, is our platform. And I just would love more stories to be told, and to have other women that are also struggling understand that there is a beautiful community of women out there that understand and can bring hope into your heart. With that being said, I love women. I just love you guys. And motherhood is just a very beautiful thing, but also very challenging. Like I said, as a mom, we go through a lot of hormonal changes, our body changes, and we also have to give birth. And that's a very hard thing. And also, no matter how you gave birth, if it was natural, C-section, epidural, anything like that, you are still mothering, and you still did the dang thing. Regardless, however you gave birth, you still did that. And if anybody tells you wrong, or if anybody downgrades you if you had an epidural or a C-section, and they tell you that you are not a strong mom, throw that negativity out. We don't need that here. We do not. I gave birth naturally because I chose to. But there was times where I would consider like, oh, well, like maybe I will get, pain medication, or if it comes to a C-section, it is what it is. But I do not agree to other women to downgrade women to be like, oh, no, you have to do it natural. If you don't do it natural, you're not mother or you're not strong. No, throw that negativity out the window. We do not need it here. It's not welcomed. Like I said, you are mother, however you did, and you still did the dang thing. And I am proud of you. I am honestly proud of you. And if no one has ever told you that, I could be the one to tell you I am proud of you and you did it. And don't let anybody take that away from you. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Motherhood is very crazy. Also, navigating after giving birth and learning to take care of your child. And everyone has their own right to take care of their kids. And obviously, as long as they're not harming their kids, you can do whatever you want. There is no right or wrong answer, at least on my point of view. There's no right or wrong answer. I think as long as you nurture your kid and you always show love, regardless however you do it, and they're thriving, you're doing awesome. And I'm proud of you. Motherhood is not easy. It's really not. And if any other mother tells you that they have it all and they have it made, you know what? More props to them. Maybe they can send me something. Maybe they can send me a book because, sometimes, I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes they get into my last. I love those. I love my little girls. I have 2 little girls. I love them to death. But sometimes I really just want to go cry in a corner and just, hide and play hide and go seek for a very long time and not be found. But like, all jokes aside, like I said, motherhood is awesome, but also there is postpartum depression. And I feel like postpartum depression hit me so hard that I don't even think I realized I had postpartum depression until I had very dark suicidal thoughts. There was times where I would just start crying and I just wouldn't know like what's going on. There was times where I just felt empty, even though I loved my beautiful babies. There was time where I just felt so empty, and like no one mistreated me or anything like that. It's just I felt so lost and empty. And especially also your body changes. It doesn't look like how it did before. And so just navigating through all of that, like it's hard. Like I said, any women that, is going through motherhood, and that they're new moms, or, you've had multiple babies. Oh, if you want to, like, that is one thing, like, I would love to have a beautiful conversation about motherhood and really deep dive into postpartum, how to heal yourself internally, but also spiritually and the outside too. It's just, that is something I would love to talk about because I have gone through a lot of learning experience, how to truly love myself, love my outer appearance, love the way that I look now, and appreciate, that my body gave birth to 2 beautiful girls, 2 little girls. And I'm blessed. I'm lucky that I got to do that. I would love to deep dive more. And if there's any mothers out there that would love to share their stories or that could relate or anything like that, please comment down below. Send me a DM. I would love for you to be part of our beautiful story and part of our platform. Going with postpartum depression, I just remember that there was one point of time where it got so dark that I jumped out of a car because I got so frustrated, so overstimulated, and I was like, you know what? I don't need to be here. And I opened the door and I just went out. And luckily it wasn't my time at the point. And people could laugh and be like, yo, like that was the most dumbest thing that you could ever do. But honestly, at that point of time, there was just something that I was just like, you know what? I don't need to be here. But luckily, God has its reason, and I'm still here, and that's why, like, I'm here to share my story, because if anybody else had those thoughts or anything like that, like, you're not alone. At least I could say, like, I had those things, and I've attempted to, end my life, but I'm still here, and there's still hope. Also, one thing is, like, don't be afraid to ask for help if you are overwhelmed, because like I said, there's a lot going on as your body is trying to regulate itself back again, and now you're raising, a little one, and you're navigating life all over again. It's very hard, and it can be lonely sometimes. So it's just one thing, like, mothers, I just hope that you understand that you are not alone. After my girls, I feel like I have developed a lot of self-healing and self-love, and it takes time. It's not a linear journey. It's a lot of waves going up and down. You're going to have good days, bad days, and, okay days. And that's okay. This journey is still a journey. I'm still going through this journey, still navigating through everything. And I feel like as I get older, I am maturing in myself and being more confident within myself, and understanding that, I am human. I'm not perfect. I'm never going to be perfect. And I should love me. All I really care is, like, God has my back, that I am beautiful from the inside out, and that I'm a genuine person, and that I care for people. My characteristic is going to outweigh and outperform beauty standards, because we're going to get older, and our beauty and the way that we look in the outside is going to change. There's more to life than outer appearance. It's genuinely what's on the inside. I also want to mention that as we go through dark times, there are beautiful times. And one of my biggest beautiful moment was also I graduated college. I am part of in my family, I was the first generation to get a bachelor's degree, and I was so proud of myself, because I was navigating being a mother, being a wife, also working full time, and trying to get my bachelor's degree. That was a very hard time in my life, but luckily, with a lot of support from my husband and from my family, I was able to do the dang thing. So I was so proud of myself. And I think it was just more, I wanted to accomplish, my dream, because like I said, I want to make my parents proud. And I'm very grateful for all the opportunities that they have gave me and has molded me to what I am today. Obviously, there are some things that I changed that I want to change. And there's generational curses that I want to break and change as I'm older, because I want something different. If anybody has experience, wanting to break generational curses and chains and all that stuff, I see within my generation, my cousins, there are so many different roles that we're breaking. At least in my family, machismo was a big thing, and I have some guy cousins that are being involved in their kids' life, that are, changing, simply as like changing diapers. A lot of my uncles and my dad would never change diapers. They would be like, no, that's a girl thing. Or also being involved in the kitchen, being more helping around the house. That was not a thing for my uncles or my dad. Like, I am so proud of the way that my cousins are making a difference and doing something different. And we've also had generational perspective of men that they have to work in a factory in order to make money, and that if they're not in the factory, then you need to have a higher education. Well, I'm so proud, that one of my cousins, he left working in a factory and now is a barber. And that is awesome. Like, that, other people may be like, oh, well, that's just normal. But at least for our family, that was a big deal, because, my uncles and aunts would kind of be like, oh, well, that, I don't know if you're going to make money. Like, how can you live off of that? And also me simply creating a podcast. It's kind of sad because I can't really talk much, to my family about that. I am wanting to create this podcast because I want to create a movement that I feel like is my calling. And it just sucks because I feel like they're just gonna laugh at me and be like, oh, well, how can you make a living, or why are you gonna be wasting your time doing a podcast or being an influencer or anything like that? And, you know, if anybody else can relate to that, leave a comment down below or send me a DM. Let me know, because like I said, I'm going through it. I'm currently going through it. And if you have any tips or anything like that, or if you want to come on our platform and just speak, being an entrepreneur and taking the big risks and all that stuff, I would love to hear your stories. I would love to hear how you started, where you started, and where you're at today. I would love to hear that. And so it's just, I'm happy how everything is going to turn out. I truly believe that our platform is going to make a difference. I hope that if there was any parts of my story or anything that you want to deep dive more, I'm here. I'm an open book. I want to be that voice. I want people to understand that we are together in this, that you are not alone. I'm not perfect. I will never be perfect. And I'm still learning how to navigate this crazy thing called life. I just want to end with this. No matter where you come from, what your story is, how broken you may feel, I want you to understand this. Always remember, happiness always wins. Have a good day, guys.